Look, you might think this is trivial and too practical to be of great worth, but Mum was no angel in a sense. I mean, she hated Dad, and well, the world would have said she was a narcissist, really. But she wasn't to me. She was just about perfect. And yes, you could say, well, this is because you had such a troubled first 5 years away from her in, almost completeness. And perhaps she felt guilty, but perhaps she didn't. Perhaps she felt it was nothing else she could do at the time, and she managed what she did for the best. Doesn't matter really. To me, of course, it's because of what she was to me, which was everything, of course. So to me, heaven wouldn't be heaven if she wasn't there. I couldn't bear to think of heaven without her, for her sake. We are very partial, you see, to what we've experienced. We need to have God's experience behind us, that we love and care for all life, if you like, as intensely as I was loving and caring for Mum and her for me. We need to have no favourites. How terrible to leave some poor soul out. It just wouldn't be godly, would it? There's a story, isn't there, about one of the many stories about the Buddha, but anyway, on one of his lives, he was going to be transcending into heaven on the mountain path, and the gatekeeper, angels, whatever it was, said, well, you can't bring your dog, not into heaven. So the Buddha said, well, I can't come then. I can't leave my loyal friend outside and without me. I can't do that. Well, it transpires that this was the last, if you like, the final test for him. Or at least that's one version of the story. And he passed it, hadn't he, with flying colours. Heaven wouldn't be heaven without his friend. And he couldn't bear the thought of his friend being separated from him for both their sakes. In that regard, if it is Buddhism, I don't know, but he's got it, the story's got it right. There's something singularly lovely about the story. Something about compassion and empathy and loving kindness that can speak to us in a language that we know. To say that Buddhism hasn't got a God in it is to be very literalistic, you know. If you're Gnostic, you just know the presence of God in something like a story like that, because it stirs your heart. Just like the Jesus story. It just speaks to millions and millions and millions of people. It's irrelevant whether it was history, historicity, make-believe story, whatever. It's irrelevant. I know whom I have believed, and am persuaded that he is able to keep that which I delivered unto him against that day. Or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego say, if our God does not rescue us, still we could not worship you. Because you see, we know what we worship. Here I stand, as Martin Luther would say, as he nails his proclamation to the door of his monastery, cathedral, whatever it is. Here I stand, by the grace and the loveliness, the goodness of God. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Notice in the story of the Buddha with his dog, this is not non-attachment, this is great attachment. It's what integrity is. It's permanent attachment to God. And God is the personification of what you value. We come to earth where we can pretend God doesn't exist. We can live the dream. It turns into a nightmare very often. You may say, why is that? Because it's without God, of course. We are of him. To be without him is a nightmare. Why would we choose to do it then? To be with him, one with him more eternally. Because that's all that matters to us. So we do agree to come, apparently. Well, that's the drift of the near-death experiences of at least many of such accounts, anyway. I notice the personification of God is by no means in all of the accounts. And I'm cautious of the role of guardian angels, whether they be angels as such or ancestors. I'm cautious from the point of view of well, I'm not sure, but at least the rule here is our devotion to God. Mind you, I mean, we have a great concern for others around us. I don't want to risk being distracted by the understanding of guardians such that it actually keeps us from the devotion to our Heavenly Dad. And I know we have the principle of not having favourites too. Does that mean we treat God equally? Well, I can't see that, because we have an understanding that we all owe everything to his persona, his self. Something like that we worship God, but we love all life. You could say in consequence that it's because we loved life that we came to long for God. Well, that was in our childish state, of course, where we thought he wasn't there and, in a sense, didn't know him. Certainly not as fully as we want to know him now. Perhaps the role of guardians, guardian angels and so on, is just part of our Heavenly Dad's conception of the perfect family, in that we don't love in isolation, but in company with all the family, because we love them and because he loves us all too. I am still concerned, though, in my mind, that some of the near-death experiences don't have that realization of the company of God, the company of great loving feeling and environment and safety and goodness. But not an awareness of a persona, a person of such. Only a preoccupation with guiding spirits and angels, perhaps, and well, relatives that have already died, especially ancestors, whatever. Well, we don't know it all, do we? But I think I've got it there, haven't I? God wants us to come in the love of all, not in some favoured, myopic favouritism of some, but at least come to, in the end, the realization of love of all, concern for all. But still have a primacy of Dad, our Heavenly Dad. In eternal gratitude, yes, precisely so. My soul longs for you. Nothing else will do, Lord. I love you with all my heart, soul, mind and strength. I'm tempted to say, for in a sense, The rest of heaven doesn't need more than that either. But we don't want our kids to be individual strands to us, do we? We delight in seeing them love and care for each other. Isn't that so? In fact, we're so proud of them when they care for each other. As well as loving us. Love you, Heavenly Dad. To be with you is everything. Especially with the rest of the family. Is that reasonable to say? Open our eyes, Lord. And that's something that in great measure seems to be in these near-death experiences. An incredible sensitivity and awareness of sheer loving goodness and being. Which is God. Life. It's come that we might have life. And that's essentially what the Jesus story is meant to be. Well, and the Gita, and probably other religions that I'm not well versed in, you know. Oh, including the Buddhist religion, I mean, preoccupation with removing suffering from all life. Oh, what a lovely chap. Wouldn't you just be so proud of one of your kids who was like that? Wouldn't you want to show him the way? Well, he reckons he's got it. He's just removing suffering from everybody. Will that do? Oh no. You need the fullness of life of knowing God. Knowing good that you are filled with compassion. Compassion's not quite the same as gratitude though, is it? Gratitude has an object of devotion. Which gives us a lifeline to the power and vitality of life that God has. And therefore the resources to love and care for. And not just remove suffering, but to bring joy. Joy unspeakable, peace, goodness, life, life more abundant, life eternal. You see, it's not just the removal of suffering that may bring a peace, but that peace needs to be filled with devotion to the perfection of a being that you too can become, are in eternity. Did you but know it? Then why are we here then? Oh, well, I think I've answered that before, haven't I? What's the answer now? Something about the transitory universe teaching us how to anchor for eternity, in eternity. Don't think I can master it more than that. At the minute, anyway. May it be a blessing to you. But may you still have the uncertainty that drives you into his arms, into his embrace. Our Heavenly Dad. Bind us together, Lord, with loving cords that cannot be broken. Faithfulness, loving kindness, overwhelming gratitude to the goodness of God. Not just the needs of life, but the sheer blessedness, goodness of God. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad.